So, Mr. Sajjan, we are here today in London for the UN Peacekeeping Defense Ministerial 2016. Canada has already announced that it was re-engaging in the peace operation and also that next year we will be hosting the next meeting. Why it was important for you to be here at this event in London?
Well, it's no secret. We campaigned on this early on. They sent me my mandate letter to support peace support operations with the United Nations, and more importantly, it's the right thing to do. Canada needs to be a responsible partner in the world. That's the Prime Minister has repeated that many times. We've done that with our other operations, whether it's been Iraq, NATO, and now this is probably one of the most important ones where we're actually getting into conflict reduction and conflict prevention. But regrettably, there is a lot of conflict, and this conflict is different from the past. Canada has a lot of experience, has a lot to offer, and we need to do our part in the world so that we can be a responsible partner in the world.
So you mentioned that Canada has a lot of experience in the peacekeeping operation. In fact, Canada was a founder of the peacekeeping, and so with the Rwanda operation, with the Bosnia operation, we have that kind of experience. We learn about that and how that will be applied in the future mission that will be in countries.
First of all, it's important to know that we get a grasp of understanding the conflict that we might take part in. And not strictly from the conflict in terms of the enemy or the radical groups. It's getting a complete sense of the situation on the ground, from political business, the criminality, and to the radical groups as well. That's creating the problem. And then look and find the root cause of that problem. Also determine what great work is also being done by certain human missions, the international organizations, the NGOs, and some of the business community. So then we can look at where do we fit into that so that we can have a meaningful contribution. And the most difficult decision for any nation is when you send your troops into harm's way. And that's what peace support operations is. We're sending our troops into harm's way. And so that decision is never going to be taken lightly. We're going to go in with our eyes wide open. I went into Africa, 5-country tour with just Louis Sauter and a retired general and Senator Romeo Dallaire, to making sure that we got the ground truth. And my teams in the military are right now out on their reconnaissance, getting all the necessary information. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a responsible decision, have a meaningful impact.
So how the Kigali principle, Canada has signed these principles, UK just signed a few days ago. How is that a game changer in the way we're going to do the peace operation? Because we know what happened in Rwanda, and that principle basically says we can protect and defend the civilians. Is Canada going to be more active on protecting the civilians, even if it's implied to shoot?
The protection of civilians and the mandate to protect the civilians is extremely important to Canada. Extremely important to me. As a former soldier, the last thing you want to be restricted when you have the ability to help somebody and you can't. I'm very happy that the United Nations has moved in this direction, and it's the reason why I had Romeo Dallaire, who was the commander on the ground, to attend with me to visit those countries, to send a powerful statement that this is how serious we take the protection of civilians, but at the same time also get his perspective on the current missions as well. So rest assured, any mission that we do go on, that Canada is going to be a huge supporter of making sure protection of civilians. Also, not only we will live up to that task, but we'll also want to encourage and insist that other troop contributing nations also live up to that mandate as well.
So you mentioned that we're going to send in arm's way the Canadian soldier, and in the same time we need to protect the civilians. So how do you manage the equilibrium between those two facts that we need to protect civilians and we need to protect our soldiers at the same time, because we need to give them the right equipment with the right objective, the right rules of engagement? There is a lot to consider at the same time.
Absolutely. So the right mandate means having the right rules of engagement. When you have the right rules of engagement, that translates into the right type of pre-deployment training as well. And then this is where a lot of experience also comes from the policing end. As you know, I was a former police officer as well. And the use of force continuum is something that the police also use. And making sure that our troops are well rehearsed in those type of scenarios, and that's what pre-deployment does. So we will have the right rules of engagement, and then with the right training comes the right equipment. We will make sure that our troops have the necessary equipment and training to be able to mitigate the threats, and more importantly, to be able to have the right tools to be able to protect the civilians as well.
So we're talking about, and we saw that just here, peacekeeping, but you mentioned and the government mentioned it's more on peace support operation, and that term means peacekeeping, peacemaking, peace building, and peace enforcement. So what do you think Canada is gonna do more on their mission? Peacekeeping, peacemaking, or very mixed?
No, so when you look at whether you want to call it peacekeeping, peacemaking, or peace support operations, for me, it's important is the reason I use peace support operations. I want to create an image in people, the Canadians that we're talking to, that I can talk peacekeeping, but when I talk about any type of peace operations, I look at understanding the conflict. So we can term it all we like in different ways, but what we need to do is understand the conflict. By understanding that, we will determine the right strategy for it, which in some cases will require a certain level of force to be used if necessary, and that'll be done with the proper mandate and the right rules of engagement and the right training. So that's what how I define it. It has to be defined by understanding the conflict that you're going into, not by the terminology you give it.
What's the time frame you're looking at for deploying these troops? Are you going to wait the release of the defense policy review, or will it be sooner than that?
The defense policy review is at the analysis stage. Canadians knew right from the get-go the importance of peace support operations, and it was in an election campaign. More importantly, it was in my mandate letter. It was a public notice. Plus the fact that I went on a 5-country trip into Africa, a fact-finding mission with key experts to get the ground truth. We have demonstrated our communication with Canadians. So with the timeline that we're going to take is our teams are working diligently right now. We will make a decision based on the information we receive and we analyze. I don't want to create a timeline and push a decision to make us potentially make knee-jerk reaction decisions. I want to make sure that when we do make the final decision, it's going to have the right impact on the ground, have a meaningful contribution, and that our troops have the right tools to carry out that mission.
Quickly, so you mentioned meaningful impact, and so at the same time, we're sending troops on up impact, sending troops on up reassurance, on up unifier. Next year, Latvia with the battalion that Canada will command. Very active, proactive time for Canadian forces.
It is, but as the Prime Minister has repeatedly said, we're going to be a responsible partner in the world. We are going to work with our allies. And whether it's going to be a multilateral environment, and that multilateral environment means working as part of a coalition, and we're there with shoulder to shoulder with our coalition partners in Iraq. Multilateral environment working with NATO. That's hence the reason why we take a leadership role there. And now with the United Nations, we'll be involved with peace support operations. Yes, we're going to be very active, but given the conflict that we see in the world at the different levels, Canada needs to do its part, because what's happening in those areas of conflict is having a direct or indirect impact on us. And if it's not a direct impact on us, it's impacting our allies. But just look at the migrant crisis that's happening in Europe. By doing more in those areas where the migrants are coming from, that also helps to slow the tide of the migrants that are coming forward. Now, and not to mention trying to stop the atrocities that are being committed in some areas as well.
What place for the reservists? As a former reservist, I think it's in yours. Basically, most of the time it's 20% on all missions. Most of the time it is not. So, do you want to see more reservists on peacekeeping missions? Because we have only 3 regular battalions. They are already very busy, let's say, with Unifier, with Impact, with Reassurance. So do you want to see more reservists, 25%, 30%?
No, there's no percentage that we'll put to the reservists, but rest assured that reserves will play a significant role on peace support operations and also with our contribution to NATO as well. I think the reserves bring a critical component to peace support operations based on the skills that they have in their civilian careers. And that's one thing that we definitely will be looking at and making sure that the role that the reserves play is not just about filling a position, it's about utilizing a skill set as well.
So, like a resume, let's say, I just saw in fact that the Conservatives released a press release today saying we don't know nothing about the peacekeeping missions in the future. The Liberals didn't say nothing. So what can you say to your adversaries and to the Canadians to reassure them that no, it's not an idea like that. Yeah, we're going to somewhere.
They should not come as a surprise. Well, during the campaign, they should have paid attention during the campaign. It's in my mandate letter, which is public, and they should have read my mandate letter. When I went on to Africa with my distinguished attendees, Justice Louise Arbour, Romain Dallaire, and the ambassador from our Canadian ambassador in the United Nations, we did not only press releases and press interviews, and the funny thing is, Canadians knew exactly what I was doing. We made the announcement in Canada so that we communicated Canadians for a decision that we had already made of the number of troops. So we have communicated that with Canadians before we actually communicated it in London. And now, as we get more information, and as the teams come in, and the time is right for me, where I can not only say when the decision is going to be made, how it's going to be made, and why we are making it. We owe that to Canadians. So we bring Canadians along to be able to communicate with them. And to be honest, I don't know why Mr. Bizan is saying they're coming as a shock. We've been not only telegraphing, but communicating with Canadians, and I'm you can just do a Google search on that where they find all the articles in the media right in front, to be honest.
So in fact, it's not to say that wasn't your objective, just to say, okay, we're going to Mali, wait for the details. You did the opposite. We're going to re-engage. We're going to engage with that number. We're going to engage in that country with that, etc. So this is a logical way to announce things.
Absolutely, and it also should not come as any surprise, whether it's a mission in Iraq or what we did in NATO. I have always said, before we send troops into any type of mission, I want to make sure we do our homework. I personally got on the ground, whether it was in Iraq, visited in NATO, and I'm taking the same steps, making sure I have the right information, talk to our coalition partners, talk to the host nations that are there, talk to the international organizations, talk to the experts. Bring that information in to be able to analyze it properly so that we can have a meaningful contribution. Because at the end of the day, it's not the decision that we just should make. We have to now then explain to Canadians why we're making that decision as well, and we will. And we've done that for every important decision, and I personally think Canadians appreciate that, and I'm going to continue to do that because I will never send troops into harm's way without making sure that we analyze the political level decision that's going to make sure it's going to have impact right down at the ground level.
Mr. Sajjan, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.